Raiders, you don't need them. You don't need ownership. You can go own a team at any point, calling a game. What's calling a game when you could be on the field competing for another Super Bowl? And you got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And you got Mike McDaniel calling your plays.
When I come to your city, I'm a new score. Broke your high score soon as I step through the door. Tryna stack my paper up like a bookstore. Money kissing each other like a rock and roll tour. When I come to your city, I'm a new score. Broke your high score soon as I step through the door. Tryna stack my paper up like a bookstore. Money kissing each other like a rock and roll tour.
Hey, Tyler.
Hey, Piet.
What's going on? Welcome to the New Score Podcast. My name is Pat. This is my co-host, TYG, Tyler Pratt. Tyler, how we be doing?
Down bad, brother. Down bad. I'm exhausted. I ate Chinese leftover. It messed me right up. And the only thing that's keeping me together right now is recording and the fact that we have football in 2 days.
Yes, sir. Week 2, we are right on the doorstep. Today, we got our big, juicy bets for this week. Can't wait to get into that. Can't wait to get into these juice packs, Tyler. I tell you that. Bills, Dolphins. We're going to have to recap that game as well. And we're also going to just get into week 2 in general. There's obviously a lot that's exciting. It's so early in the season. Everything just feels so unpredictable right now, outside of a couple teams, of course, which we're going to get into. Tyler, let's get into this Bills-Dolphins game. 31-10, Buffalo. They continue to be Miami's daddy. It's just it hasn't been competitive when these two teams go out there. And, I had some notes put together watching this game last night, and I was going to go into this episode with a bit of a rant. And then, unfortunately, the Tua situation occurred, which is obviously very unfortunate. Praying for Tua. I have my thoughts on Tua as a quarterback, which I'm going to get into. But Tua he's a great human being. He's just a great dude. He's got all the great qualities, intangibles, all that shit. So polling for him, first of all. But we got to talk about it, Tyler, because when these two teams line up out there, I just feel like Miami, when they play a lot of teams, they can get away with, like McDaniel can get away with scheming certain things up. When you got that run game with the speed, throwing Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. I mean, there's a lot of weapons to play with on that offense. So there's a lot of defenses you could scheme up and make your quarterback look a lot better than he really is. But every single time that these two teams match up, McDermott knows he's got all the right moves defensively. He's playing the two high safety where they're not giving up anything deep. And it's like, all right, well, if he's so good of a quarterback, then beat us down the field, progressively. Like first down here, first down here, first down here. What do we see the elites of the elites? Like Brady, Mahomes. What are they so good at? They don't need the deep all the time. They can kill you down the field, chunk by chunk by chunk by chunk, so that the defense has to respect everything in your arsenal offensively. Every time McDermott plays Tua, he's got the too high safety look, and he's like, all right, beat us. They're inviting him. They're inviting him to just pick him apart, and he can't do it every single time. Meanwhile, on the other sideline, you got a guy in Josh Allen who he started out his NFL career. He wasn't accurate at all his first couple of years. But since then, Tyler, this guy's been a premier MVP candidate every single season, top 5. So Josh Allen he's different. Like, you look at him, the build, the tools, everything. The way he can just scramble for 15 yards and run a linebacker over. The arm strength to put the ball anywhere he wants to, no matter what kind of platform he's in. Like we talked about the Anthony Richardson throw last week, I'm sure Josh Allen can cork it like the same way with just his pure strength. And then you look at Tua. It's like Tua's really not that athletic. He's dealt with injuries, obviously, not just the heads. And when you see the ball come off Tua's hand, maybe it's just me, but I've watched a lot of football. I don't mean to sound arrogant, but I've watched a lot of football in my life. I've seen a lot of quarterbacks throw the ball. I don't see it. I don't see it when it comes off Tua's arm, Tyler. These balls that are like on the sideline, they feel lofty to me. Meanwhile, we talked about that throw like by CJ Stroud last week, that 3rd and 11 when he had to throw like a 15-yard out and he zipped it in there. I don't see that with Tua. I see the ball floating. I see him. I see throws being late. I see him overthrowing Tyreek Hill. I see him underthrowing Tyreek Hill last couple of years. And this isn't. I'm not going in just completely bashing Tua because I said most importantly is his health. That's number one. And he might not even be able to play again. So I don't want to sit here and kill the dude. All I'm saying is there is a clear mismatch out there every single time that these two teams play. And that's what translated once again. Besides that, James Cook had a great night. 3 touchdowns, obviously, in the first half. He ran all over him. Like, going back to Josh Allen didn't have to do anything pretty much. Like, the defense carried the way and James Cook carried the way. And he just did a good job of managing the offense. So, no, he didn't have an MVP-like performance last night by any means. But he won the game, and he continues to beat Tua. He continues to beat Miami. One other thing of note, besides Jamarcus Ingram, shout out, he had that pick 6 that just ended the game to make it 31-10 because it looked like Miami might fight back in. And then Ingram gets the pick 6, and after that, it was over. Dolphins' red zone efficiency was not good. Something that stuck out to me, and I know there's been complaints about Mike McDaniel's clock management in the past, is, Tyler, do you know it was a 2nd down play with a minute left in the first half, clock's running, Miami's got the ball. 2nd down just ended, clock's running under a minute. He let the clock go from 57 seconds to 33 before he called the timeout for that 3rd down play. He let 24 seconds off the clock with under a minute left. You're down multiple possessions. Like, you got to go, man. You got to go. I think they were down 3 possessions at that point in the game. And you let 24 seconds off the clock before calling a timeout. Because why? You don't want to give the ball back to Josh Allen? Like,
He was scared.
Yeah, that's how it was. He was calling the game scared in that sense. And he was calling the game like he didn't really trust his quarterback. That's how he was calling it in that situation. Because I tell you what, the Bills are calling a timeout there. They expect Josh Allen to get a 1st down in 2 plays if they go for it on 4th down and short. So if Tua deserved this contract and Tua is that great of a quarterback, call a timeout and give him the time he needs to go down and score a touchdown. Why are we playing it safe in that situation? 24 seconds they let off the clock before they call a timeout. So that was crazy to me, Tyler. But besides that, Buffalo looks tough. They're going to be a problem. I expected it to be them and the Jets, but I didn't expect it to be like this, where it's going to be, oh, now Miami's doesn't have a quarterback. But before I let you go, this is a petition. Tom Brady, please come back and go play with that team in Miami. Just do it. You already live there, man. It's like, just fucking do it. Raiders, you don't need ownership. You can go own a team at any point, calling a game. What's calling a game when you could be on the field competing for another Super Bowl? And you got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And you got Mike McDaniel calling your plays. And you got fucking Achan, who's an absolute weapon in the backfield, paired up with Mostert, Wilson, and then Wright, the rookie. And then a capable defense if they don't have to be on the field all game because of a backup quarterback coming in, like Ryan Tannehill. So Tom Brady, please, 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 please come back. Go ahead,
Think
Tyler.
about it. Him and Rodgers in the same division. Probably close to the same age, right? So, yeah, no, but what do you call it? On that drive you're talking about though, where the Dolphins just let all that time run off. They had the ability to take a couple shots at the end zone, and then they just ran the ball and then called the timeout with 8 seconds and then kicked it. It wasn't like it was 4th down. It was like 2nd down. They run the ball. They could have taken a shot. They're down, right? So I don't know. Just the play calling and everything. That game just was bad. Just a bad game for Miami. They need to wash that. Like they got lucky to even get the win in week 1 against Jacksonville. Like they could easily be 0-2 right now with a very, very bad outlook on the rest of the season. So right now they're 1-1 with a bad outlook. But yeah, I mean, I saw enough in the first half. Buffalo ran all over them. That was the game plan. They just ran it all over them. Like you said, Josh Allen didn't have to do a damn thing. And their defense, again, stepped up. So now I'm like, okay, maybe their defense isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be this year, even with those injuries.
And Bernard went down last night early too. And they still they look tough. Ed Oliver, I thought had a great game out there for him.
Yeah.
I thought Miami got the run game going a little bit, but it was like at a point where they were never attached to the run. And they were never it felt like every single time there was a short conversion play, the Bills D line stepped up and stuffed them. So I mean, like you said, that Bills defense right now. Shout out to McDermott. He's doing something.
He's got
with
them
them.
playing. He's got those boys playing. But yeah, I feel like that Miami offensive line is just like, they're built for a zone run scheme, and when they have to do a power run on short yardage situations, it's almost like they're just not built for it.
All right, Tyler, let's move on to these big, juicy bets for week 2 of the NFL season. I'm going to start us off. This week, I got a five pack with a couple of bonus picks. We got a 5-pack and a couple bonus juicers in there as well, Tyler. So we're fucking ready to roll this week.
Bonus juicers.
Big juicy bet number 1. By the way, I tell you what, there are some unders that I like this week. We're talking unders. That's all I got. I got Rams +1. Let me start out with that. I don't want to sound biased, but all week long I've been like, why are we the dogs in this? McVay dominates Arizona. I think he's lost to Arizona one time in his career, and it was with Wolford as the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So we just dominate Arizona, and I get it. We're very banged up. So 3 offensive linemen, it's looking like right now, where we're gonna have different guys in there this week, and we are not deep at all. There's not a lot of depth, and then Puka's out. So when you look at that line and you're wondering why, that's why. It's offensive line concerns, and then Puka going down, of course. But let me say this. This team just played last week, Sunday Night Football, in Detroit, opening the season in Detroit, and they can't stand us. I tell you that. They hate us. I could just tell. And some of the cheap shots too, Detroit. we're gonna get into that at some point in the podcast. Hitting Stafford below the knees late. We're gonna get into that at some point. But they really don't like us there in Detroit, Tyler. I think it's because we took their quarterback and won a Super Bowl with them. This team competed the entire game with those offensive line issues, with Puka going down in the first, second drive of the game, playing at Detroit, who almost went to the Super Bowl. They should have been in the Super Bowl last year. There's some people Super Bowl favorites, and we took that team to overtime. We should have beat them, honestly. Now we're dogs in Arizona the next week, and I'm not sleeping on Arizona at all. I think Arizona's got some potential to be potent on the offensive end, but their defense is no match for Matthew Stafford and Kyron Williams and Cooper Kupp, no matter how banged up the offensive line is when you got Sean McVay calling your plays. So my first big juicy bet, Rams +1. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm just going to add on to that. I do like that pick a lot too. The Rams opened as favorites, and then as things progressed, they ended up being dogs. So if you flip the script, teams, right, trends, which is what we kind of look out for too. Teams that start as a underdog, and then as the line moves and they become the favorite, majority of the time they don't cover, right? And this is almost damn near a pick 'em. And as we go through this weekend, I think when people start to come around to their senses, we can see a lot of money getting put on the Rams, and it ends up being a pick 'em. But think about it. What's the issue here? What did Cooper Kupp have, like 15 catches on 20 targets or something like that? And Stafford is Stafford. They still got the run game. The defense actually held up, I think, very well, a lot better than people gave them credit for, or at least expected. I know that Arizona's got some nice pieces on offense, but that's not what all the concern is for the Rams. It's that offensive line, but who on Arizona is going to exploit that? The answer is nobody. Somebody's got to step up on the Arizona front seven and exploit that. But until they do, I don't think they will. So to me, there is no concern. To me, I think the Rams should be at least 2.5 to 3 point favorites here. So the fact that it's 3.5 to 4 points the other way, it's crazy. That's crazy. So that's why this is a juicy bet.
Get a juicy. That was the only side I had. The rest of mine are unders, and I'm gonna go through all of them. I like some sloppy, grind it out, punch you in the mouth football this week. Some turnovers. We didn't see great offensive play last week, and I think it's going to continue in some places around the league. Let's get into it. Big juicy bet number 2. New York Giants, Washington Commanders. I want to get your take on this game because it seems like a rather ugly game when you think about it. To be in week 2 and a game looking ugly is kind of it's a weird feeling to me. But right now, I'm seeing a total of 43.5, and I'm all over the under. Big juicy bet. I think that people are overreacting to what the Commanders defense did last week in Tampa. I don't think their defense is going to be that bad this season once Dan Quinn really gets his handprints on it, especially. But I just think Vegas really doesn't respect Tampa, which I'm going to get into later, and their ability as an offense. So I don't think Commanders defense is that bad. I think, and you're telling me Daniel Jones is coming into town, and I know he's got a good history against Washington, but come on, folks. Are we counting on Daniel Jones and Jaden Daniels in his second career game to go out there and put up over 43.5? I don't see it. I see the Giants doing whatever they can to just manage the game and win it with their defense. And then the Commanders, they have more, I think, explosiveness on the offensive side of the ball than the Giants. But do I see them like blowing the Giants out or putting up 30 on them? I don't this early in Jaden's career. I don't think so. I know the Giants secondary is lacking, but I think their front seven can get to Washington's front. And it's like I said, I just think it's going to be like a struggle back and forth. I don't see 43.5 in this game. I'm all over the under. What do you got on this game?
I don't have a strong opinion on either side in this one. I think to your point about overreacting, that's what week 2 is. Week 2 is overreaction week. It is everybody overreacting to everything bad that happened in week 1, and then not really giving things time to marinate. So, yeah, Washington's defense looked terrible last week. The Giants' defense looked terrible last week, mostly their secondary. The offense didn't do shit. Jaden Daniels looked pretty solid, but he made a lot of it happen on his feet. Don't have a strong opinion either way. And that's why this line's only at 1.5 right now. Yeah, I mean, I do like a sloppy game. I think it's in Washington. So, yeah, if anything, I feel like you kind of do have to lean under here.
Next under. Indianapolis Colts at the Green Bay Packers. 40.5. Big juicy bet number 3 for me. Malik Willis playing quarterback, it looks like, for Green Bay at this current second. And Indianapolis coming to town, who has the ability to run the rock on you between Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor. And if you don't remember last week, Anthony Richardson only finished that game with 9 completions. And he had a couple, deep balls. Obviously, one of them was dime of the week. Can't forget about that one. But I don't see the Colts like exploiting Green Bay's secondary. I don't see Green Bay taking very many chances. I could see LaFleur really scheming out his ass this week and getting like reverses, quick screens, bubble passes, really setting up Josh Jacobs this week in the run game. And then Wilson, if he's back there, him doing everything he can to take the pressure off of Malik Willis. So this is another game where I just feel like grinding it away with the run game, clock management kind of style of offense, trying not to make, the turnover that's going to cost you in a gritty game. And that's what I see. I like the under in this one.
You want to know what their offense is going to look like? Go back and watch the Bengals game from last week. Joe Burrow did nothing but throw the ball 5 yards down the field. Wide receiver and tight end drags, 5-yard ins, 5-yard outs, running back swing passes, running back release. I think he only took one shot deep down the middle of the field to Jamar Chase when he was wide open. Other than that, which maybe it's a Burrow thing right now, but other than that, that offense was very vanilla. That's exactly what I think, to an extent, how the Packers are going to have to kind of play it. But like what you said, it's going to be LaFleur with his, his spice on it, right? Little LaFleur flavor, right? So they're going to get creative. That Colts defense has, they've got some issues they got to shore up. But yeah, this is another one I don't really have a strong opinion, because if Love was healthy, I probably would have been all over the Packers, depending on the line. But with Malik Willis and what we've seen from him in the league so far, I just don't have much confidence in him. But if there's somebody who can kind of get him going in the right direction, it's probably LaFleur. So this is an interesting one. Actually, I think this game's going to be a good one.
Next one. Once again, we got another under. Take me to Baltimore with the Las Vegas Raiders are coming to town. And the line right now is 41.5. Now, I could see this kind of being like a game I bet last year with the Ravens. I can't remember who they were playing. It might have been Seattle. but I really liked the under in the game, and then they ended up just blowing the team out. I don't remember which game it was, but they blew a couple teams out at home last year. And one of them I had the under in, and their defense, I was right. They completely shut down the other offense, but they scored so many points that, the under was dead very early in that game for me. So I'm a little worried about that. I'm a little worried about the Raiders just like giving the game away and Baltimore getting like defensive special teams touchdowns, because that is a no, absolute no. Those are what's going to kill you and you're under. But I mean, you take those things away and everything lines up to under for me because of the struggles that the Ravens are having right now in their offensive line. We've been talking about it. The 3 new starters on that offensive line did not look good. Granted, it was the Chiefs, but they did not look good week 1. And also, one thing we didn't mention is they're going to have to figure this whole thing out of Lamar playing under center and Derrick Henry learning, to play in the gun more for this thing to really work, because it sounds nice. It sounds nice when we're talking about it. It's like Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. It's going to be lethal. It's going to be dangerous. You get them going in the option game, whatever. It's like we didn't really see any of that in week 1. And I think it's going to be a process of Lamar starting to play under center more and then Henry being in the gun more. Obviously, when Keaton Mitchell comes back in that offense, it's gonna be a great weapon to have those reps when they're in shotgun to take that off Derrick Henry. But right now it's Justice Hill. But I think you got to get Derrick Henry out there as much as possible, and for this team to really take off the way that they should. So it's going to be some, like I said, between the offensive line and that, I don't trust the Ravens putting up a ton of points because the Raiders front can get after you. Between Max Crosby, Christian Wilkins, those guys can wreck a game. And I know Lamar is more mobile than anybody we've ever seen out there, but give me the under. Obviously, the Raiders offense, I don't see exploiting Baltimore's defense.
It's down to 8. So as you can see, what that means is people came in on the Raiders and took the points there at 9. And that's what moved it down to 8.5 and then down to 8. So it's moved a point over the course of this week. I think if it gets any lower come Sunday, I might take the Ravens. And if it gets any higher, if it goes back up to 8.5 or 9, I'll take Vegas. But sitting at 8 right now, I just don't. It's more of a pass for me, right? So that's where you kind of get into the, okay, is there a prop, or are you going to go over under? Is this thing going to be sloppy? So I think that, again, you're kind of on the right side of this. Yeah, they get they like to get down and dirty in Baltimore. So yeah, I think this is it's going to be a grinded out, punchy in the mouth kind of game. I think both teams are really going to try to run the ball. So it's going to be an interesting one. If I had to take a side on the points, I probably would go Raiders +8. But again, I'm kind of going to wait on this one.
Vegas just got to find a way to get first downs. And like you said, get the run game going, because they're not going to have a chance if they can't get the run game going in this game just a little bit.
And catch the ball, right? Punt returns and kick returns, catch the ball.
Right, and that's like I'm saying, special teams that can really kill you in one of these games. All right, last one in my juice pack. Another under. Seattle Seahawks at the New England Patriots, 38.5. I watched a lot of that Seattle game last week against Denver, Tyler. And first of all, Geno did not look good. Did not look like he was in rhythm at all. And that offensive line for Seattle was not holding up well early in that game. And that was really the only reason Denver, stayed around in the game, is because Seattle's O-line was not protecting. They were not getting the run game going. And then what did we see in the second half? We saw Kenneth Walker take off in the run game, and then Seattle pulled away. And we keep emphasizing that for the Seattle Seahawks. Like, it's all about the run game. And then you go to New England, who just gutted out a win in Cincinnati. Jacoby Brissett just doing what he's got to do to get a win. Ramondre Stevenson running wild. Like, they're going to give Ramondre Stevenson the ball at least 20 times a game. Like, they're running the football in New England. It's not going to be in Brissett's hands. And shout out to that offensive line for what they did last week, because that was a major question going into the season. And New England's offensive line really stepped up last week. So that's going to be huge for them if they can keep doing that going forward. Because just thinking ahead about the whole Drake May thing, you're not throwing Drake May out there if your offensive line is just in disarray. And you're not going to throw him out there and he's just going to get killed and he can't get any of his timing down, because it'd just be wasted reps at that point with an offensive line like that. So I think it's a great sign for the Patriots. I know it's only 1 week, but if they can continue running the football like that in New England, then they're going to win some games because of that defense, because they can win in that style. They can win playing those, mucky, we like to say, games. And I think this is one of them. Not saying New England's going to win, but I like the under 38.5. Christian Gonzalez is an absolute dog. He has the capability of taking DK Metcalf out of the game. He just took Jamar Chase out of a game. He could take DK Metcalf out of a game. And they have capable weapons everywhere on that New England defense. So I don't see Seattle's offense getting it going. I mean, Walker would have to kill them on the run game, I think, for them to put up a ton of points in this game. And then do any of us see New England scoring, 21 points on offense? I don't even think they're scoring 21. So give me the under 38.5, Seattle, New England. Just going down through it now. Rams +1, under 43.5, Giants, Commanders, under 40.5, Colts, Packers, under 41.5, Raiders, Ravens, and under 38.5, Seahawks, Patriots. Just a couple bonus picks, not juicy ones, but I do like Dallas -6 against the Saints, and I also like Bucks +7.5 in Detroit and the over 51. So those are my bonus picks, but Tyler, go ahead.
That Seahawks-Patriots game, Seahawks -3. I jumped on that line last week after watching those games. Listen, I want everyone to understand, first of all, how fortunate the Patriots were to come out with a win. That was a kick in the dick if you're a Bengals fan watching that game. The turnovers were terrible. Just awful. The Patriots really snuck one out there. Like, really actually snuck one out. And the field position that they got half the time, again, I mentioned it earlier, the Bengals offensive scheme, it just looked so vanilla. It was so boring watching them try to just inch up the field against that defense. And maybe there's something wrong with Burrow. I know they're talking about his wrist. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but I tell you what, you kind of have to believe it after watching how they just dunked it, dink and dunk, 5 yards here, 5 yards there, hand the ball off. Like, it was an awful watch, actually. It was a tough game to watch. So
did you see the video of him? Like, he couldn't grip the water bottle on the sideline.
I didn't see that.
That's concerning, man.
Yeah. If you can't grip a water bottle, how are you going to grip a football and throw it? So it just makes sense. And I mean, and New England barely snuck out of that. Like, Seattle in that game against Denver, first play of the game for Geno, maybe it was the first or second play, pressure, he steps into pressure, throws a pick. Denver gets it, settle for a field goal. They got set up at their own 1 or 2 yard line twice, 2 safeties. When do you ever see a team have 2 safeties in one game? Like, Seattle just had awful field position all game. Couple bad turnovers. They still won the game. I don't see, this line at -3 right now for Seattle. I don't know how you don't take it. I mean, again, this is overreaction week. Before the season started, I guarantee you this line was probably closer to -6 or 7. So you're telling me after watching last week, you think that New England is 3 to 4 points better than before the week? I don't think so. So I do like the under, but I also love Seattle at -3. So I doubled down. I took him at -4, and then when the line dropped to -3, I took him again. So I really like Seattle here at -3.
Browns, Jags, leaning Cleveland there,
I
but
would
don't
lean
feel
Cleveland.
great about it because it is that time of year where Jacksonville's not a fun place to play. And believe it or not, that really affects teams. And Deshaun Watson and that O-line did not look good last week. Granted, it was the Cowboys defense, and I know Cleveland's O-line's banged up right now. I don't
Yeah.
I don't know. I could see the Browns doing it, man. I could see the Jags doing it. I'm staying away here. What are your
So
feelings on this game?
this is a very passable game. Very passable game. I mean, just looking at that second half from Jacksonville, I don't know how you could feel confident with them against, seeing what that offense was unable to do in the second half versus the Miami defense, and now they got to go against Cleveland's defense. I don't know. I'm just not confident. And I think if you're back in Cleveland here, like Cleveland's getting 3 points, I like that, right? I may wait to see if it gets up to 3.5 because that would be huge. But yeah, I mean, if I had to lean aside here, I would lean Cleveland.
I think it was 3.5 too, and it came down.
Yeah.
New York Jets, Tennessee Titans. Obviously, the Jets lose Monday night to San Francisco. Aaron Rodgers' first game back. It was just great to see him out there, though, man. At the
It
end of that
was.
game, and he was happy too. You
Mm-hmm.
could just tell he was a sense of just relief, and it's like, oh, it's been all of this fucking drama and everything that's happened these last couple of years. He's finally got a game under his belt now, so I'm sure that had to feel great for him. And now it's just about
Mm-hmm.
playing ball. And
Right.
right now, they're going to play Tennessee, who lost. They gave a game away in Chicago last week. Another game I don't feel great about. If I had to lean aside, it would be the Jets. But what are your thoughts on this one?
Same. I mean, it's I think you got to like what you saw from Tennessee's defense last week.
Absolutely.
And I mean, the Jets just were up against a juggernaut in week 1. It's never easy playing the elite teams in the league week 1 unless you just come schemed up out of your mind. But it was good, right? Rodgers gets to shake off the rust. It's good to see, there you could see some of those throws. He threw some dimes, and then there were some throws where it's like, Rodgers makes that throw 9 out of 10 times, and he just missed it last week. But that, you're going up against that San Francisco offense. It's just tough. Even without McCaffrey, they still got, run all over by Jordan Mason. And I can kind of see Pollard and Spears combining for a good game here. And Tennessee's getting 3.5. I mean, Tennessee wins that game. They should have won that game. You replay that game last week against Chicago 100 times. Tennessee wins 99 out of 100 times. They just happen to lose because of those block punt and the fucking flick pass from Will Levis. Mayo God. It's like Tennessee should have won that game. And I think if they did, people would be looking at this one a little bit differently. But I do think if you have a tough time picking a side here, which I'm not gonna lie, this one is it's a tough one to pick. And if I had to lean aside, I'd probably give me the points with Tennessee, but especially if it's 3.5. But this wouldn't be a bad one to look under, right? That Tennessee defense looked really good last week, going against the Jets offense that didn't look great yet. But that's the thing; it's Rodgers, and I know you never really want to bet against Rodgers. But then same thing. I think the Jets defense is better than what they showed last week, and they got to go up. You got Will Levis, so I think you're kind of confident, like going from the 49ers to Will Levis. I don't know. It could be under. I think it's only sitting at 41 right now, so. It's a tough one, though. I think this is a tough bet, no matter how you look at it.
One thing you said I agree with is Tony Pollard. Like, if they can get him going, if there is one knock against that Jets defense, it is stopping the run. And we saw it last week, and it's like McCaffrey gets ruled out, and you're thinking, okay, we got a game here. But Jordan Mason comes in and he ran the rock great all night for them. So they still ran it on the Jets without McCaffrey. I think that's a good point talking about Pollard and Spears. Like, it's going to be very important for Tennessee to establish the run game and take it off of Will Levis's shoulders because, like we said, that turnover last week really killed him. So if you got to manage the game better than that, and running the ball certainly making it easier on him. Let's talk about those San Francisco 49ers, though. They're playing at Minnesota this week. Seeing the spread at 5. What are your thoughts on this game?
Well, I tell you what, I think that 5 right now is a bit disrespectful to San Francisco. I mean, again, Minnesota played the Giants last week, and I know that Sam Darnold looked all worldly in the first half and was like 13 of 14, but um, they're not going to be going up against the Giants again. And Sam Darnold's going to be going up against that team that he just left. It's kind of like and I don't even know if you can call it a revenge game for Sam Darnold. But I think the Niners, I think they have an edge on how to expose this guy. They've seen everything that he had last year. They rostered him. They know Sam Darnold. So I don't know. I think 5 is just too low. I feel like this should be more towards like 7. So I'm picking a side here, and I think that as well as Flores and Minnesota are able to kind of defensively beat up on bad teams, they're not over the last season. They weren't great against good teams, and San Francisco's a really good team. So I'm all over San Fran -5.
And without McCaffrey, doesn't hinder you at all.
No, not after seeing what Jordan Mason was able to do last week. It's all that offensive line is everything, and Mason just a one cut back. He hits it hard. He looked really good. So yeah, even with McCaffrey out, doesn't waver my confidence.
And I talked about it after last episode when I was going through that Giants-Vikings game, is for Minnesota, we can't see that game and use it. Obviously, you can't use like the measuring stick after week 1 in any case, but they played the Giants last week. Now you're playing the 49ers. So let's see what Sam Darnold does out there this week against this defense. And then we're going to have a much better picture of what this offense is going to look like moving forward, I think, this season and what we can expect for them. Let's move on, though, to one of those bonus picks I like this week, Tyler, and that is your Dallas Cowboys. -6.5, I'm seeing. It was -6, but now it's -6.5 at home against the New Orleans Saints. I think the Cowboys at home opener. This could be the recipe, and regular season, I want to point out too. Not at home in the playoffs, home in the regular season. This is just recipe for a rout. I think CeeDee Lamb can have himself a day out there. I am concerned, and I want to know what's going on with Jake Ferguson, and also how you feel about that run game against the Saints defense. But to me, I think this is one of those games where Dallas' defense can get after Derek Carr, and we're going to see a better picture of what the Saints offense really is because they played Carolina last week. So now they're playing at Dallas. Now we're going to get a better idea of what the Saints offense is. And I think that Dallas defense can make it hell for Derek Carr in that building. So I see 2 possession game. and I'm riding with -6 or -6.5.
100%. I mean, again, last week, Saints against the Panthers, that Panthers defense had 2 pressures the entire game. They had 2 quarterback pressures. Dallas had 2 quarterback pressures on the first possession against the Browns. Even with the Browns banged up O-line, probably take that O-line over the Saints O-line. I just don't I don't see a repeat from Derek Carr from last week. I think that the Dallas defense is going to get after him, and then like you said, you're going to get a better idea and a better picture of what the Saints offense actually is going to look like against an NFL caliber team. No offense to the Panthers last week, but they just didn't look like they belong on the same field. So the offense, though, for Dallas, I'm not worried. Jake Ferguson, it ended up being an MCL bone bruise, so he's listed as doubtful. He had a chance, but I think they just downgraded him to doubtful at some point today. So no Fergie. You're going to see Schoon Maker. Not really too concerned about the offense. I think that Dallas wins by double digits. So I take them at -6.5. I might even tease it and bump it up. This is to me, this was like last year when they were playing the Giants and they were at I think they were at -7 and I bumped it up to like -10. And then Dallas beat the Giants by like 30. So this is one of those. And if you're ballsy and you want to bump this up to like -19.5, those are good odds. You're going to get like plus 500 on that. If you really think the Cowboys are going to stomp the Saints and just run them out of the building, it's very possible. That is a very, very good possibility. But I'm not doing that. I'm just going to take it where the line lies, right? -6, -6.5, -7, 7.5, whatever it gets to. I'm taking the Cowboys.
Let's talk about those Carolina Panthers that you loved so dearly last week. Are we feeling any type of way as they go into this week in their home opener, +5 against your boy Jim Harbaugh and his Los Angeles Chargers?
I am not backing off where I stand with the Panthers, but I will. I said it last episode. I'm not going to tell anybody to put their money on this team. I'm just not going to do it, right? But if I had to pick a side, Carolina's the play. Carolina's the play here. You take the points. You don't overreact from week 1, right? Because if you did overreact from week 1, you would take the Saints at +6.5. We're not doing that. So if you don't overreact from week 1, you take the Panthers and the points here, but I'm not going to tell people to do that. You could put this as a teaser, right? With that total, bump that up 7 and take the under. This is just too okay, do you think the Panthers are going to score 20 something points? No. The Chargers offense last week, they didn't look that good. They had a couple like big runs from J.K. Dobbins, and then they got elite field position off of turnovers where they only had to go 10 yards to score. So, yeah, I don't know. If anything in this one, I would probably lean under. If not, you take the Panthers.
That's what I was gonna echo, is that's the only thing I'm seeing looking at this game is maybe teasing that total or just taking it. I'm seeing 39. Do you feel comfortable with 39? Hey, it might be a slop fest out there.
The 2010 game, that's 30, right? Where the other 9
Yeah,
points coming from? Right? I could easily see a 20-10 final in that game.
yeah. Might have to slip that into the juice pack now that we're thinking about it.
Very well could.
Tampa Bay Bucks getting 7.5 at the Detroit Lions. Over under sitting at 51. I like but don't love the Bucks +7.5 and the over 51, pairing that up. What do you see this game?
I saw the flip side of the total points. Last year, when these two teams played, I think the final score was like Lions won 20-6. I don't think that you get that again. But 51's a lot. I don't think Tampa's offense is going to do what they did last week to Washington. It's tough. It's tough because I can see Detroit putting up points. I don't know if I can see Tampa putting up a ton of points, but they could. So that's the thing. I would personally pass on this. I don't have a side. If I had to pick, I probably would go under, but
I think my perception of Tampa right now is much more positive. My outlook of Tampa as a football team and specifically that offense, I think is much higher than most people, including yourself. So I could see where there's some differing opinions there. I like what I'm seeing from Baker Mayfield these last, that whole season last season. And I
series.
know last week they only played Washington, but even when I saw that dude step into the Rams offense and do what he did without even knowing the playbook, that's when I knew. I was like, "Oh, this dude isn't a bust. He was just in a shitty organization that made him play hurt, that made him feel like he had to play hurt, and he was out there banged up trying to play quarterback for a team that wasn't fully bought in on him at that point."
I was out
And
on
the
him.
Browns are the Browns. And then he gets sent away. So I knew then, I was like, "No, this dude's special. He's got something to him." And he really captivated that locker room in Tampa last season. These guys just love playing for him. He's got that mentality that he's just out there playing ball, and he's gonna lay it out on the line for his brothers out there. He's gonna take any hit he has to take to get that first down. He's gonna sit in that pocket and make any throw that he has to make to get that completion. He's a baller, man. I love the mentality of Baker Mayfield. He's not as talented, as these upper echelon of quarterbacks in the NFL. I'm not saying that he's an elite quarterback by any means, but I really like where his game's at right now. Mike Evans, he still got it too. I like the McMillan kid pairing up as the third receiver now. Yeah. I think this team is capable of putting up points against most defenses in the NFL.
Yeah.
So this is a rare over for me this week that I like. And then the Bucks with the points.
Before Baker went to the Rams the other year, a couple years ago, where was he at to start the year? Carolina. Guess who didn't look good in Carolina? Baker. Was it because of Baker? No. It's because they're just a bad team. But not this year. Not this year. Carolina, they're coming for you guys. They're turning it around. And this week, do not put your money on them, but just watch. Watch what they do against the Chargers, who, if you've been listening, I'm not super high on the Chargers and them getting a win last week against the Raiders, who I like more than them after watching that game again. Still don't like them that much. So even with my boy Jimmy there, free Harbaugh. But yeah, I don't know why. I just wanted to throw that in there. Next game.
Cincinnati Bengals, Kansas City Chiefs. Right now, the Bengals are getting 6 on the road at what was once referred to as Burrowhead. Over under sitting at 48 right now. I am very excited for this game. I'm not intrigued by betting anything. I'm just excited about watching this, and I hope that the Bengals, like this, we don't have anything to worry about with, like, the slow start is one thing, but Joe Burrow's wrist is a completely another thing. Like if he's got this wrist problem where, like we were talking about, he can't grip the ball properly, that's very concerning, and we don't want to see Joe Burrow sitting out at all. I'm not sure if Higgins is back or not. He's not back. So that's going to be tough for them. But it's time to get Jamar Chase, get him paid. Get him paid out there. And it's going to be important for them to get the run game going. Because last week against New England, they did not run the ball well. So if you want to have a chance in Kansas City, you have to get the run game going. That Chiefs defense was flying around last week. They're a tough bunch, especially playing at home. And then we don't need to talk about Patrick Mahomes and all those guys on the offense. We all know what it is there. Do you see this potentially being a rout?
I hate this game so much from a betting perspective because when you look at all the trends, Mahomes as a favorite of like 3 or more points is not very good. You think he covers like 40 something percent of the time. And then Andy Reid, since he's been in Kansas City, coming off of extended time, right? More than a week to prepare for a game, he covers at less than 50%. The the Bengals in general, Joe Burrow, every time that he's played Kansas City, they generally do well. So this is something that a lot of like professional bettors are just coming in, and they're going to come in heavy. They're going to let the public put all their money on the Chiefs, and then come like Saturday night, Sunday morning, they're going to just unload on the Bengals at +6.5 to +7, and you're see that line drop back down again. I hate it because look, Burrow, when somebody go back and watch that game, tell me I'm wrong. Burrow at one point had 16 completions for 102 yards. They're not throwing the ball down the field. The guy cannot do it right now. I don't know if maybe over the course of a week his wrist is back to normal. I have no insight on that. I really don't know at all what's going on with his wrist. But 16 completions for 102 yards is worrisome. And he took one shot down the field. He had one good ball to the sideline. Other than that, it was all short. And you're not going to be able to do that against Spags. You're just not. He's going to figure it out. He's going to get after it. And I tell you what, that offensive line did not look good. Burrow was under pressure. So guess what? You think he's going to be under pressure any less this upcoming week against Spags in Kansas City? Nope. So I hate this from a betting perspective because everything here says to back Cincinnati and take the points, but I'm having a hard time really wrapping my head around it. And again, not trying to overreact to what they did last week, but that was hard to watch. And that offensive line wasn't getting much push. That whole first half, New England controlled the line of scrimmage. And then in the second half, the Bengals offensive line started to do a little better in the run game, controlling the line of scrimmage, but they just didn't pass block very well. And, give credit to the Patriots defense for actually, scheming up well and playing a good game, but they didn't have to cover the deep ball. They could just play cover one and get away with it. So it's going to be an interesting game. I'm on board with you. This is one I really don't want to bet, and I want to just enjoy. Hopefully Burrow's more healthy than he was last week, but again, trends say back Cincinnati. I can't.
I don't feel good about it either. Pittsburgh Steelers, Denver Broncos. Over under is 36.5, and Denver's getting 2.5 at home. So we know the rule. Whenever Mike Tomlin's the dog, we back him on this podcast. This week, he's the favorite, though. -2.5. How do we feel about this game? To me, I don't see a side. I see the under sitting at 36.5. That is so low, but it might still be the under for me
Yeah.
in this
Yeah.
game, man. I see Pittsburgh completely just draining the clock. Game management, 100%. Denver, Bo Nix gave the game away last week. That you would think they're going to try to be more conservative with him going against TJ Watt and the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. That's going to be it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy for a rookie quarterback going against TJ Watt in that defense. I like the under a lot in this game, Tyler.
You just watch TJ Watt and you're like, that's why he truly makes a difference to this defense when he is on the field. That dude is an animal. He's up there. I think 3 of the best defensive linemen who are going to wreak havoc every game. It's TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons. To me, those are the top three. And TJ Watt he's gonna get after him. He's gonna make shit happen. He's just gonna wreak havoc. He's a game changer.
Nick Bosa and Max Crosby are just sitting like, what the fuck, dude?
Well, I mean, they're really good too, but those three though, those three, and then those two are just like just under them, you know, like A+ for them, and then an A, leaning towards a plus for those other guys. But TJ Watt's a fucking animal, dude.
Yeah, I think he might honestly be right now when you're talking about tiers. I think he might be on his own.
Oh,
I really do think he might be on his own, and he could ruin this under because we could see strip fumble for a touchdown. We could see tipped ball interception for 6. Like all of those things are possible when TJ Watt is on the field. So that could crush an under, but that doesn't happen, man. Feel really good about this game.
right. So, and that was the thing last week against the Falcons' offensive line is one of the better offensive lines in the league, especially when it comes to pass blocking. They were excellent as a unit last year, pass blocking, and so Watt wrecked them. He just absolutely wrecked them. He was getting after Cousins all game, and he had 2 strip sacks that didn't even count because of penalties. 2 strip sacks that came back because of penalties. So he could have had 2 more sacks, 2 forced fumbles on top of what actually he had. It's just crazy. And Denver's offensive line, not as good as Atlanta. Bo Nix, I will give him this. He's a little more mobile than Kirk Cousins at this point. So I think he has that going for him, but he's gonna be running around for his life back there. I think Pittsburgh absolutely brings it. And by the way, if anybody didn't know, Justin Fields is playing again. So guess what Pittsburgh's not gonna do? Throw it in the middle of the field.
Dude,
No, I'm just kidding.
this could have been Russ
I
playing at
know.
Denver this week. We got
It'd be
robbed of
so
that.
good. We did. Would have
Is
been
he
so good.
faking an injury so he doesn't have to play?
I don't know. What is it? A
Is that what's going
hamstring?
on? I don't know. I'm just messing around.
Yeah, just he. I don't know because I didn't even know that he wasn't playing in week 1 until like the day or 2 before, and they
Mhm.
were like, "Oh, Justin Fields is starting." I'm like, "What the fuck happened to
So
Russ?"
it's lingering. That's not a good sign if it's lingering.
No, and he's old, so you know how that goes. But I will say this: last week I loved what I saw from George Pickens. I think he tried to do a little bit too much sometimes, but he's amped up. I think you got to love the energy that he comes prepared with. And it's so funny because he gets amped, and you see Mike Tomlin go over to him and basically just like a father, just bring him down a notch, you know.
Yeah.
But I like that connection too, and you know, especially on short because they couldn't have had very many reps. Pickens and Fields, they could not have had very many reps, and I think that and Pickens did have a big play called back too because of a penalty, so he finished with a pretty good game, and it could have been even better barring penalties. So I mean, I'll be all over Pittsburgh on this one, but I do love the under.
Sunday
All
Night
right.
Football. Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears getting 6.5 at CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans. Whew, I am excited about this one, Tyler. One thing that is a little concerning and worth noting at the moment is, as of right now, Keenan Allen and Rome Odunze are both questionable. I was texting Todd earlier about it, and he said that it's looking like game time decisions for both. It more optimism for Keenan Allen than Odunze at this point.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be those would be some big losses because I actually like 6 is in betting in the NFL in football. 6 is just such a key number. So if you can get 6 to 6.5, it's big, and especially because a lot of these teams can sneak in the back door towards the end of a game, right when they're down 13, and then they can just garbage time touchdown extra point. Guess what? You just covered your 6. So these 6 is just such a key number to get, and if you can get it, and I'm again not overreacting to last week and what we saw with Caleb Williams. I think he, just I think he's going to learn from his mistakes. And one of the things he was doing last week was just trying to, do a little too much once he felt pressure, right? Like dropping back, spinning around, running backwards. He took like a 19-yard sack. You can't do that. In the NFL, if you take a sack, it almost ruins your chances of scoring. Like it significantly decreases your odds of scoring. When you take a 19-yard sack, you're basically ruining your drive. You're going to punt. I think that it was a good learning experience for Caleb, and I want to see Swift get more involved. I don't know. I like the Bears because of their defense too. Like that, the Bears defense is real. They're real. Like their
This is
defense
a
is real.
sneaky under to me. I
Is this
know
the week of the unders?
I think it might be. It is for me, man, because I'm looking at this 45.5, and we know like CJ Stroud, he's phenomenal. Like I can't say enough good things about CJ Stroud, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Flus in that defense,
They're a
they ain't no
problem.
joke. They ain't no joke. And Houston's defense isn't bad at all either. And they're gonna be playing at home. They're gonna be fired up. Caleb Williams still gonna have it's going to be, there's going to be some learning curves. We saw it last week. And with Allen and Odunze not practicing consistently throughout the week, that's just another shakeup there. I think you make a great point about getting Swift more involved because he can do it in so many different aspects for that offense. He can really be an explosive playmaker, and I think they need that. They're gonna need that.
100%.
And they have a plethora of running backs as well to throw at you in Chicago. Felix Jones, hang on to the ball this week, please, because that'll really throw a game off.
Yeah.
Can't be fumbling punts, kickoffs, and giving the other team the ball, inside the red zone. That kills you. That kills you until Will Levis saves you. So
Exactly.
sneaky under though, Tyler. I'm telling you, 45.5. It looks maybe tease it, but
I tell you what though, if Allen and Odunze were both like healthy, guaranteed plays, I would feel a lot more comfortable taking the points with the Bears. But with them both being banged up, game time decisions, even if they do play, like we saw last week with Jordan Addison, right? Jordan Addison had a high ankle sprain a couple weeks ago. He was questionable coming in. He played, but it was one of those injuries where like it can just be one tackle and he's out. Guess what happened? It was like third quarter. It was one tackle and he's out. Guess who's out this week? Jordan Addison, right? So it's not it's not very encouraging hearing the injury news with those two guys, especially because they mean so much of that. Keenan Allen especially is going to play a huge role in that offense all year, and Odunze being the number 3. So it's DJ Moore and company, right? I want to take the Bears so bad. I want to side with them. I'm going to pass for now, but the under, it could be a week of the unders, man.
Another thing too, that's big if Aduns and Allen are, even if one of them's ruled out, like Derek Stingley. I don't think people understand how good of a corner Derek Stingley is, like right now
All
in
pro
the
level.
league. So if you only have DJ Moore out there, Derek Stingley has the ability to take that guy out of the game. And then it's like, what are you left with at that point? So I think it's going to be very important to monitor these injuries for the Bears at receiver going into Sunday night. So I wouldn't touch this game either way. I'm not going to touch this game until we get closer to kickoff and we understand, who's playing, what it's going to look like out there. Let's cap this off, though, with Monday Night Football. Atlanta Falcons at the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles 6.5-point favorites right now. Over under 47.5. This is another game where I'm just excited to watch it. Like that Chiefs-Bengals game, which I hope doesn't turn into a blowout. It's kind of like the same feeling in this one. I'm excited for a quality football game. If the Falcons can live up to the hype here, it's going to be a tough battle going at Philly, prime time. We know how it gets there, and we know what that front can do to you. And now you got Saquon Barkley on offense to deal with, along with those weapons that Jalen Hurts has. It's like Jalen Hurts made some mistakes last week that could have gave the game away, but it's like that team was just so good. They can just recover, and boom, they're right back on you. They can score at any point, it feels like. And then that defense they got some potential. I don't like Kirk Cousins' chances. I don't like his chances at all on Monday night. Just staying clean in that pocket. But 6.5, man, I don't know. I don't know about 6.5, and I don't feel any type of way on the over either.
I'm really leaning towards backing the Falcons and the points at 6.5, especially if it's there. Again, key number 6 being that TJ Watt last week was a game changer, game wrecker. Kirk Cousins' first game back after the injury, shaking off the rust. Same thing for Rodgers, and you can see the potential in that offense when Kirk wasn't running for his life, trying to run away from TJ Watt and that Steelers defense. So I think that, the Eagles do have a good front seven, but I just think 6.5 is too much. Again, untimely turnovers and just bad penalties really I'm trying to watch my mouth because Sharon said I need to watch the F-bombs, but they really fucked themselves. Like, they shot themselves in the foot, and it was that with TJ Watt, like, it's a recipe for disaster, right? So I think that seeing what Green Bay was able to do to their secondary last week, I don't know. I kind of like the Falcons with 6.5 going into this. Tough read though. It is a tough read. I'll give you that. But I think right now, if anything, I'm leaning Falcons with the points.
So what are your big juicy bets?
You want to know the juice pack? Huh?
Yeah, what's in your juice pack, man?
All right.
Enough of the talking. What's in the juice pack?
All right. Juice pack. All right, juice pack, 1:00 slate. Let's just fucking get into it. Give me San Francisco -5. I'm not playing fucking games with the Vikings. Give me -5. Niners all day. Dallas -6. Bump it up to 16. Saints are garbage. Panthers. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not throwing the Panthers in there. But those other two, yes, Seahawks -3. I love that. Rams, you already had them, but I'm reiterating. Rams +1. Pick them. God, I felt that I was on fire there for a second. That's it. That's all I got.
Love it. Love the energy to cap this off here. Going into week 2. We hope everybody enjoys Sunday and Monday, college football Saturday. It's a great time of year, Tyler.
Just
Great
find a
time of year
couch
to be alive.
and 2 TVs. Get yourself a couch and 2 TVs and park your ass for about 8 hours. It's easy. It's not as hard as you think it is. I tell you what, even if it's just through the 4:00 games, 6 hours, you know what I mean? You're going to be good. Trust me.
Thank you guys for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Follow us on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Spotify. We will see you next week with our week 2 recap. Goodbye.
Peace. Oh, shit.
We got to do that again.
come to your city, I'm a new score. Broke your high score soon as step through the door. Tryna stack my paper up like a bookstore. Money kissing each other like a rock and roll tour. When I come to your city, I'm a new score. Broke your high score soon as step through the door. Tryna stack my paper up like a bookstore. Money kissing each other like